When I started my e-commerce journey back in 2016, that's when I first got real serious about it. I made the investment of $2,500 into a coach that would teach me how to sell on Amazon FBA to be specific. And in April of 2017, months later, I made my first sale. I made about $8 profit. So I was in the hole quite a bit considering the coach cost me $2,500. The product plus shipping it to the United States cost me another $2,400. So let's just round up and say I was in for about $5,000. And that's not required today to do Amazon FBA. I thought, why not do a video where we try to start an FBA business for $0 or as close to $0 as possible? That's what I want to talk through today. So let's get to it. So let's go to Amazon and I'm simply going to type in funny coffee mug. The reason I type funny is because if we don't put some sort of qualifier, then we're going to get a bunch of generic coffee mugs that are not really niche down for print on demand. So now we have the option. We can scroll through like this and not really know what we're looking at in terms of like sales data, which ones are good opportunities, bad opportunities, or because I'm using the AMZScout Chrome extension, I can click down here in the bottom left corner and it will launch the AMZScout PRO AI new Chrome extension. You guys may have heard of AMZScout. I was using them all the way back in 2016 when I started FBA to help with product research. They launched a PRO AI Chrome extension, basically a much improved version of their most popular research tool. So that's what I'm using today. As you can see, now we're looking at data. Now, this is not a more fun way of looking at it, although if you do want to see the pictures, you can simply mouse over the thumbnails on the left-hand side and you get the full resolution version blown up on your screen. But the data is really what we're looking for as sellers. We need to flip our brain from buyer to seller. And really what we're in this for is to start, right? We're in this to make money. Don't lose sight of that. If you talk to me about this, I'm always going to say, hey, we're in it to make money. Time is money. And we need to figure out how to make as much money as we can as a function of the time that we spend doing it. So using a research tool like AMZScout definitely expedites this whole process. Now, a big part of why I thought this was viable to start FBA with close to $0 is because Printify, one of the most popular print-on-demand production companies, allows you to do bulk orders and save up to 50%. That's 50% on shipping and up to 46% on the products. Now, if you scroll down this page, and I'll include a link to this under this video, for orders of 20 or more similar items from the same print provider, you can lock in big discounts, even bigger discounts than you already get from Printify. So I thought this was a perfect opportunity to sell something like coffee mugs. I go up to the top, I click catalog, type in coffee mug, and you can see that right here, we can get started with coffee mugs for as low as about $3.50 if you have Printify Premium right here per mug, and any discount you can lock in on top of that is going to make this even more accessible. Now you see SP, a lot of these first products are tagged as SP. Just as a general rule of thumb, there's no right or wrong way to go about this, but I like to filter them out. So I'm actually going to click the filter button and I'm going to click hide sponsored right here so that I don't have to look at sponsored products, because people that buy their way to the top, sometimes you see bestsellers, sometimes you see brand new listings that are not really helping our research process. So we filter those out. Now we're looking at the organic bestsellers. We now have the ability to filter by rank, and it's going to put the best sellers at the top for us. The lower the BSR, the better. BSR, again, guys, is bestseller rank. It is why researching on Amazon is amazing, because they give us this data point. They refresh it throughout the day. It shows us how well products are selling relative to each other. So the lower the BSR, the better. The best BSR you could have is 1 because you're the #1 bestseller. Make sense? So AMZScout's putting that right there, and we can filter by BSR. What you'll notice is that if we filter by BSR, we get a completely different order of these products than we were seeing otherwise, okay? Like if you looked at search results without AMZScout, we're seeing it completely different. So this is why it can be so valuable. So now it's like the research, and let's just, we're putting our brain on get an idea of what is selling. So we see a seize the day mug right here. Now that's not a coffee mug I'm aware of in the Printify catalog, but that's okay. Sometimes we can take the general gist of why people buy it and then make our own version of it, sell it on a 11-ounce mug that's in Printify. The next one, sometimes you forget you're awesome. So this is your reminder. Next one, I came, I saw, I forgot what I was doing, went back, got distracted, and have no idea what's going on. Is this my cup? I have to pee. Next one, the Trump ones. We saw these selling really well in his first term as president. You're a really, really great dad. The best, really terrific, just fantastic. The other dads, losers. Next one, I'd punch a bee. I try not to curse in this on my YouTube channel. I'd punch a bee for you right in the throat. Nice. One more. Okay, like a Lego mug. I don't know if we have the ability to sell those, but I'm looking for stuff like this where we can make our own version in print on demand relatively easily. We don't need to sell the exact same product, by the way. That shouldn't be, I think, your goal. It should be to just kind of figure out like why people buy it. Some people might buy this because they want a pink mug. Other people, though, probably buying it because it's a really funny design, simple text-based design right there on the mug that we could easily replicate. Now, doing research on the designs is one thing. And as you saw, we filter by BSR using AMZScout. Now we can see the best sellers to worst sellers. And as we scroll down, there's many, many more. Additionally, we want to look at what is the other information. You can see here, we have the brand, not that useful if you ask me. We have the category. Again, that's not really that useful. I've been selling on Amazon for a long time. I know it's kitchen and dining for coffee mugs. We have a product score. Okay, now I actually breezed past some of the most valuable information you might want to see right away when you open AMZScout. You see how it says product score right here in this column? It's grading each product on a one-off basis. Okay, but up here at the top, it grades the entire niche opportunity for us. So it's looking at the averages of the entire page one of data on Amazon. It's looking at 48 results, average monthly sales, 1,351. So this is certainly a big upside opportunity on these keywords, right? If it says funny coffee mug, this is just discovery. There's many other keywords driving sales to these listings. Okay, we're just looking at like probably the most valuable keywords that you can rank on in funny coffee mug. That's why the average sales is so high. Average monthly revenue, $27,000. That's insanely high. Average price, $15.33. Interesting. All right, that's one thing to note. Don't feel bad if that seems really lower than you expected, because you're able to charge whatever you need to charge to be profitable within reason. I'll talk you through how I go about figuring out the pricing in just a second. But you see the average reviews, 2,000. Damn, that's a lot, 2,800. Visibility score. So this is actually looking at how many users of AMZScout have found this niche. And it looks like basically nobody's looking at coffee mugs, which again is a good opportunity because print on demand sellers, guys, are usually not trying to sell FBA because they're like, well, I sell print on demand. I'm going to do it as FBM. Not many people are thinking FBA. But there's plenty of people that do actually do this. Like I said, myself included on occasion. It's not something I make a habit of. But in terms of launching these coffee mugs with a minimum order of 20, now this may be variable by product type, but let's just assume it's 20 units. And let's say you pay, if it's $3.50 and then you're able to get any discount on top of that, you might be able to start your FBA business for around $100. I mean, that's kind of crazy. I mean, sure, if you want to say, oh, you have to pay for Printify Premium, okay, add a couple more dollars, but it's really a fraction of what most people pay to start an FBA business. I said I started for $2,400, but of course it cost a little bit more. When I was like interviewing manufacturers overseas, ordering samples, all those things, right? Like it's so much more accessible now to start an FBA business in 2025, and you can be agile with small minimum order quantities on products like coffee mugs, thanks to Printify. Now here's the thing, you're gonna need to order them to yourself and then ship them to Amazon. But when you ship it to Amazon, yes, you're paying a redundant shipping fee there. But I mean, until these print providers can ship directly to Amazon for you, it just is what it is. But again, you're getting the shipping discount here with the bulk orders. And when you create the inbound shipment in your Seller Central, you buy your shipping through Amazon at their dirt cheap rate. So also factor that in. It's really cheap. It's about as cheap as you'll ever find in terms of shipping. So now we need to figure out profit, okay? When we look at the price column right here, that's telling us what they are charging, okay? That's what they are passing to their customer, that their customer must pay. These are FBA products, almost assuredly. So and also it is because it says FBA fees right here. When you see an FBA fee, you know it's being sold as fulfilled by Amazon. That means you need to take the price, deduct the FBA fees, and then it yields the net, okay? So AMZScout's literally giving you the net profit right here. Of course, from that number, you need to deduct what it cost you from Printify when you went through the bulk order process. So that means the per mug and per shipping. If you order 20 mugs, whatever you pay, divide to get the unit price by the number of units you ordered and divide by the shipping price by the number of units you ordered. That's your per unit price. Deduct that from the net column and you've got basically your profit. You know what I mean? And then do a little bit of math, figure out what your margins are. These margins always look a little bit inflated in AMZScout because they don't know the actual unit cost for the product, but they know everything else, right? Only we can know as the seller the unit cost. So that's about it. I mean, starting FBA used to have bigger barriers to entry than they do today. And I love the idea of doing it with print on demand because I've been kind of talking about this through the scope of maybe we launch a single mug, but you can launch multiple. Like look at all these bestsellers we have here. You can launch theoretically like one of each of them. I don't know if that's the most optimal way if you've never done it before, but you could certainly launch, there's some funny ones on these mugs. Something like this, simple text-based design. Printify certainly has the two-tone mugs. It says something funny. I came, I saw, I forgot what I was doing, went back, got distracted, have no idea what's going on. Is this my cup? I have to pee. Like we've seen a couple of those now. So in terms of like a validated idea, we haven't tried that hard to look at the trending designs and we've already seen this at least twice. Perhaps you start here. If it doesn't work, and in terms of not working, I mean, how do you even define that? It's hard not to sell a mug that is a bestseller on the keywords funny coffee mug that has massive discernible demand based on the sales. Like this right here, you can see there's an estimated revenue column right here. That mug we were just looking at is doing about $10,000 a month in sales on 800 sales a month. Okay, again, those two columns right here. AMZScout's given us everything we need to audit these at a glance. They have up here the niche score as well. Now, I just like to be honest. Like, I'm not the biggest fan of trying to distill down basically 50 products on page 1 into a single numeric score between 1 and 10, but they do attempt to do that, right? They're using their own algorithm here behind the scenes. They're integrating AI. They're doing the best they can at AMZScout to make this work and give us at a glance a good audit of this opportunity. So I'm not saying it's useless. I'm just saying that like if I'm investing my own money in an FBA product, I don't just rely on this single metric. I like to get in the weeds, auditing my competition, looking at things like how long have they been on Amazon. Obviously, the longer we've been on Amazon, the better, right? You start with no sales, then you get the first sale, which is the hardest. Then you get more sales, you get more reviews, and it starts to snowball, right? But don't look at somebody who's been on Amazon for years and think, oh, I'll never do that, right? That's the type of thing that they actually look at here when you look at the niche score or when you do the AI analysis. We'll look at that in just a second here in AMZScout, but so it generated an overall score of 6 out of 10 for funny coffee mug. A lot of the things you look at, by the way, like AMZScout's not trying to mislead you. If it thinks it's a bad opportunity, it'll be a low score. Okay, 6 out of 10 is like okay. But at the same time, I'm not trusting this as the sole point of like decision-making discretion. This is just a starter for me. Like if I came in, it said overall score 1 or 2, I'll just move on right away. If it says 6, I'm like, all right, I'm gonna do some digging, right? Profit margin high. Desired prices in the $15 to $40 range. I think a sweet spot for us would be like $19.99, sourcing them from Printify. Low margin, so you'll need to sell a lot to profit. But based on what we saw on page 1, you saw like there are listings doing 800 sales a month. And by the way, the fact that we can see how many sales a month it's doing right here helps us project how many we need to order with our initial order and then our reorders. As we start to make sales, we climb in organic rank. Demand scales with your organic rank. I mean, organic rank on Amazon literally translates to more eyeballs on your products, which leads to more sales, which means with FBA, we need to pre-purchase these. It's not like FBM where then it goes to the printer and the customer receives their product 5 days later. This is fulfilled by Amazon. We've already paid for it and the customer gets their product in a day or two, right? So I just wanted to point that out. Demand very high, but it says this is an old niche. Now, again, it's not really a niche when we say funny coffee mug, right? We're not in the actual niches per se. So I'm willing to look past that one as a knock on this opportunity. And then in terms of competition, it says medium. It's an unsaturated niche, very few AMZ sellers. And again, that's probably on a relative basis because we know most coffee mugs on Amazon are fulfilled by merchant, which is everything that's not FBA basically. Very low top brand competition. So the famous brands are not competing in the funny mug. They're competing on like mugs, right? When you type in coffee mug and you start to see like the tumblers and whatnot from the big brands. That's when you start to get like Stanley and stuff like that, right? But we're not competing with them. Low quality listings, that's good. Probably because a lot of those third-party listings that are FBM don't take too much time to optimize, which makes sense. And that's a feather in our cap as an edge for FBA sellers. Monopolistic niche, you compete with a few strong sellers, as is most of the case on Amazon. Many reviews. Again, the best sellers tend to have a lot of reviews. Also, we're looking at page 1 right now. So if we go to page 2 and we run AMZScout again, the data is going to be a little bit different. So when it says many reviews on page 1, might not be the case on page 2. So worth pointing out. High average rating, so customers are happy. It's page 1. Of course, they're going to have high reviews too. That factors strongly into Amazon's algorithm for what to put on page 1, etc. You can click the arrow here and you can see even more information on AMZScout. So I just wanted to point that out. Page sales share. So they try to give you a percentage breakdown on all of page 1. What percentage of the overall market share does each listing represent? So this tumbler right here apparently represents about 15%. The next one, the Stanley, represents 7.6%. If we're coming in, we're not a big brand. We're just selling, one-off kind of print on demand that we transition over to FBA. By the way, this is a great opportunity for your best sellers. If you're already selling mugs, you should strongly consider doing something like this, because I know plenty of people that have been doing this, that it really bolsters their sales. Not that you must do it to be successful, but this is something I learned about back in like 2017. So trust me, it's not my first time thinking about this. But in terms of 2025 and kind of getting a resurgence into the FBA side of things, for somebody that's looking for like what's next for their print-on-demand business, a more established seller, it's something you maybe should consider, because again, low cost, low downside, big upside, right? It's not big upside in that you're going to make like $1,000 from $100. It's big upside in that you sell out of your first order, you reorder, you order more units, and then you continue to rank your listing higher and higher and higher on more valuable keywords. So you can see page sales share, revenue share, number of reviews. I don't like to psych myself out about my competition having too many reviews. Again, guys, like you can get 1,000 reviews on a product over time. It's not going to happen most likely in the first month of your presence on Amazon. I think that would set off a big flag actually if it did. You can see other things, the ratings, average rating, the weight, the variance, etc., the seller type. If you see the FBA fees, you can usually assume right away that it's sold by Amazon, especially if it's on page 1 of some really high value keywords. Now I mentioned the AI analysis. So if you click this, it's going to do what it sounds like. Use AI to do an analysis on the entire niche as an opportunity. And you can see here, it generates an idea of how to improve the products based on analyzing the most popular product out of all of page 1. Now, you also have the ability to go to a product detail page on Amazon. So instead of just allowing it to select which product to analyze, you can go to whichever product you're considering selling something similar to, run this, and it'll again do another analysis. By the way, when you're in a competitive niche and it has all these reviews to look at, you're going to get the best data. It's looking at, everything available on the product listing. And basically, just to give you an idea, it says rationale. Consumers love options, especially when it comes to products like mugs. So it's saying tip for improvement, introduce more design variants, which is actually a great idea too, both on Amazon and Etsy. If you've seen some of these really top performing listings, they will create variations with different designs altogether, increasing the overall conversion rate of the product listing. Now, estimated impact on metrics. The first thing, what do you know? It says this could increase your conversion rate by 10 to 15%. I would imagine even more potentially. Increase your sales overall, increase revenue as a function of increased sales, and increase your reviews as a function of the aforementioned too. And then you've got the AI product insights here as well. Again, it's on a per product basis, so it just looked at the number 1 bestseller. It gives you the strengths, gives you the weaknesses, limited by number of reviews, for instance, representing opportunity if it doesn't have a lot of reviews yet. Obviously, those come with time as you sell more. Product being sold by a single seller could limit market reach and distribution efficiency. Now, the single seller thing, yeah, I'm not worried about that. In an ideal world, we're always the only seller on our product listings. Otherwise, you're competing for the buy box. So honestly, though, you could also jump on somebody else's listing. Theoretically, I'm not saying you should, but that is how Amazon intended. They don't want duplicate listings in their catalog. If you're selling something that somebody else already created as a listing in their catalog, they want you to click where it says have one to sell and then put an offer in terms of what you're willing to sell for. Typically, the lowest price gets the buy box, gets the sale when a customer goes and clicks add to cart. Opportunities, expanding product variations or similar designs could capture a larger audience and repeat buyers. Love that. That's when I say double down on what's working, right? The new saying is don't just double down on what's working, launch it as an FBA product as well. Leveraging social media marketing could tap into communities, additional customer base, etc. Collaborations with influencers as well could boost visibility. Threats, market competition from other novelty and humorous mug designs could erode market share. Love that. Consumer preferences might shift away from humorous or sarcastic products, affecting demand, and price sensitivity may deter some potential buyers given the relatively high price point for a mug. And that's where it's like, hey, this is just looking at the existing product. Like we said, it's looking at this specifically. They give you the link so you can open it up. Okay. We have control over our price point. So we can do whatever we want to do. $15.99. I mean, that's a pretty good price though. I was saying $19.99, I think is just fine when you have the Prime eligible check mark on your listing. As you can see here, Prime members get free delivery tomorrow. So literally 24-hour delivery. That is the difference between FBA and FBM in a nutshell. I mean, yeah, there's more to it than that, but that's really, I think, why you see such a significant sales boost when you launch a product as fulfilled by Amazon. Of course, the potential downside is the money you invest to launch it, but with Printify's bulk orders, order 20 or more of a similar product from the same print provider and lock in a discount. And I wanted to make sure I mentioned that with your AMZScout subscription, you get access to a full Amazon FBA course from multiple coaches that collaborated on it. And you get like one-off masterclasses. So they have a learning tab here, and under the learning tab, again, you can go down here to masterclasses. The first one, by the way, launch your brand with a $3,000 budget. That's the course we were just looking at, but now you've got the masterclass episodes from a number of different coaches as well. So I wanted to make you guys aware that this is here, and you can learn from people that have been doing it for a really long time, that are successful, basically that check every box of what you'd want in a coach. I used a coach when I got started. I paid $2,500 and ended up selling millions of dollars on Amazon as a result. So I can't say that that's a certainty for you if you try to replicate this, but like for sure, it all starts with the first step. You know what I mean? And instead of you having to spend $2,400 on your first product like I did, I love the idea of using print on demand to do that.